What if the real enemy in Attack on Titan isn't even the Titans, but the pain passed down through the generations? And what if every character we love or hate is trapped by the sins of those who came before them? Hi, my name's Amrit Birdi, Times-bestselling illustrator, and today we're going to break down what Attack on Titan really means. Not just monsters and war, but intergenerational trauma, inherited guilt, and the struggle to break cycles that were never chosen. At its core, Attack on Titan is more than just a story about monsters and war. It's about inheritance. Not of wealth, not of legacy, but of wounds, of ideology, of guilt, and of memory passed down like heirlooms, too heavy to carry, but too sacred to throw away. Across its 4 seasons, Hajime Isayama's masterwork explores how generations inherit pain of those before them. Children are born into roles they did not choose, indoctrinated into wars they never started, and punished for crimes committed long before they even drew breath. They're heirs to an unrelenting cycle of vengeance, of fear, of believing the only way to change the world is to destroy it. Each major character embodies this struggle, wrestling the traumas of their predecessors while perpetuating new ones. Grisha Yeager's obsessive need for redemption becomes the burden his own son cannot shake. Marley's dehumanizing propaganda poisons its own children against themselves. And the Titans themselves are monstrous symbols of what's passed down: power, memory, and suffering, each generation quite literally consuming the last. And so, Attack on Titan becomes a generational tragedy disguised as a war epic, a story about cages we're born into and the blood we spill trying to escape them. In this video, we'll look at how Attack on Titan unpacks the sins of the father, how the characters are shaped by intergenerational trauma, and whether, in a world built on memory and myth, any of them can truly break free. The cycle of inheritance. The most dangerous thing a person can inherit isn't a Titan's power, but a worldview. From the first episode to the final scene, the story returns again and again to the idea that the world is shaped not by individuals acting freely, but by generations trapped in a long, bloody chain reaction. Ideologies, traumas, and hatred are passed down like sacred texts. Every character is born into a narrative written long before they arrived, and most never realize they've inherited a script until it's too late. This is not a world of blank slates. It's a world where sins of the father are etched into the bones of every child. In alien culture, the past is inescapable. The sins of Ymir Fritz, real or manufactured, become the basis for centuries of guilt and persecution. In Mali, the children are taught that their very blood is cursed. This is internalized shame on a national scale. To be Eldian is to be inherently dangerous, inherently guilty. Even if you're innocent, your ancestors were not, and that is enough to condemn you. And so the story begins in a world where guilt is inherited and punishment is perpetual. Nowhere is this theme more literal than the Titans' powers themselves. To inherit a Titan is not only to gain power, it's to gain its memory. Each new holder absorbs fragments of those who came before them, their voices, their visions, their choices. In this way, the past isn't just remembered, it's relived. When Eren inherits the founding Titan, he also inherits a history he never lived through, and a fate he cannot avoid. The story's most haunting twist is that Eren's rebellion, the thing that made him feel most free, was itself predetermined. The sins of the father were more than passed down, they were replayed. And speaking of the father, Grisha Yeager is the clearest embodiment of inherited trauma turned radical ideology. Raised in a brutalized Eldian ghetto, haunted by his sister's death, and indoctrinated into a revolutionary cause, Grisha believes he can break the cycle by fighting it head-on, but all he does is perpetuate it. In trying to give his son a better world, he shackles them with the same impossible burden. Zeke is crushed by Grisha's idealism and betrays him to Marley. Eren, by contrast, becomes a vessel for it. Grisha's final words, you have to stop Erin reveal his horror at realizing too late what he's created. His attempt to pass on freedom has, ironically, created a monster. And the story's young warriors, Rayna, Annie, Berthold and Gabby, are literal child soldiers molded into tools by their state. They are taught not only to kill, but to believe in the righteousness of doing so. Gabby's early fanaticism, for example, is not her own, it's inherited. It's what she's been told about Eldians, about devils, about her duty. Her violence is born of history, not actual hatred. But history lies, and when these characters confront the truth, they realize that the people they've been taught to kill are just like them, and it breaks them. Rayna's split personality, Gabby's breakdown, Falco's compassion, these are not simple signs of guilt. They are signs of inherited myths beginning to unravel. The brilliance of Attack on Titan is how it presents this cycle not as a passive backdrop, but as an active force. The world itself is designed to perpetuate trauma. The Titans destroy cities. The survivors raise walls. Fear breeds violence. Violence breeds fear. Every generation builds their worldview on the ashes of the last, convinced that this time the war will end with them. But it never does. Because until someone chooses not to pass the pain forward, the cycle continues. And if Attack on Titan is about the sins of the past, then its characters are the children forced to live in the ruins. Each major figure is born into a war they didn't start, shaped by ideologies they didn't choose, and ultimately faced with a singular question: do you carry the pain forward, or do you let it end with you? Let's examine 5 of the most thematically rich characters, each representing a different facet of that inheritance. First off, Eren Yeager, the child who became the curse. Eren begins as the most straightforward protagonist in fiction, a boy who wants freedom, but that dream slowly curdles into something else, something monstrous. He inherits not just Titan powers, but the trauma and memories that shaped them. The moment he sees Grisha's memories, and then he sees his own influence inside them, he realizes that he was never free. He was always part of that cycle. And what makes Eren's arc so tragic isn't that he becomes the villain, it's that he does so in pursuit of liberation. He wants to break the cage, but he does it by becoming the bars. He believes his genocide will save his friends, will end the violence, but by embracing the sins of the past, he ensures they'll echo forever. He is both victim and executioner, the boy who inherited the fire and chose to let it burn the world. Zeke Yeager, the betrayer who meant to save everyone. Zeke is the ultimate product of generational damage. Raised by radicalized parents who projected their cause onto him, Zeke doesn't just break under the weight, he rejects it. He betrays Grisha and Dina to Marley, an act of survival wrapped in misplaced morality. Yet Zeke doesn't walk away unscathed. He becomes a tragic mirror for his father, obsessed with his version of salvation. Where Grisha wanted revolution, Zeke wants sterilization. If Eldians can't be free, they shouldn't suffer, he reasons. His euthanasia plan is chilling precisely because it's so gentle. He's not trying to punish, he's trying to end the pain. But like all inheritors in Attack on Titan, he's blind to the fact that his solution is another form of control. He doesn't trust the next generation to do better. He doesn't believe healing is possible. In that sense, Zeke's greatest wound isn't betrayal, it's despair. Grisha Yeager, the revolutionary who became the catalyst. Grisha is the literal origin point of both Eren and Zeke's trauma, and the bridge between Marley and Paradis. After losing his sister to state violence, he dedicates his life to Eldian restoration. But his radicalism becomes a burden he hands down in 2 directions. To Zeke, he's an overbearing ideologue. To Eren, he's a remorseful but manipulative father. Either way, Grisha sees his children not as individuals, but as vessels to finish what he started. His guilt over failing Zeke drives him to pin all hope on Eren, and in doing so, he repeats the very cycle he swore to break. Grisha's tragedy is that he knows he's repeating history, but he convinces himself that this time it will be different. But it never is. Rainer Braun, the soldier who couldn't carry it. Rainer is arguably the most emotionally devastated character in the series. As a child, he volunteers to become a warrior for Mali in the hopes of proving his worth. What he receives instead is a lifetime of cognitive dissonance, fractured identity, and suicidal guilt. Rainer doesn't just carry the weight of his fatherland, he carries the faces of the people he's hurt. He becomes the perfect embodiment of one of Attack on Titan's central questions. What happens when you believe in a cause only to realize it was built on lies? His constant psychological breakdowns, the dual personas, the attempt to kill himself aren't weakness, they're symptoms of a child crushed beneath history. Rainer is a product of war, and unlike Eren or Zeke, he doesn't pretend otherwise. He hates himself because he doesn't understand the cycle, and he doesn't know how to stop it. Gabi Braun, the inheritor who woke up. Gabi begins the story as a reflection of early Eren, brash, ideological, and utterly convinced of her moral clarity. She's a child trained to hate her own people, to see herself as the good Eldian, and to believe the outside world is full of devils. Then she kills Sasha, and she's taken in by Sasha's family. It's this moment, when she's shown compassion by the people she's been taught to despise, that cracks her worldview. Unlike many characters in Attack on Titan, Gabi's growth is not triggered by violence but by grace. She starts to see, not just others, but herself. Gabi is proof that the cycle can be broken, if not through power, through empathy. She's the hope the story desperately needs. Each of these characters carries their fathers, or forefathers, sins in different ways. Some become monsters, some become martyrs, some wake up, but none walk away unchanged. Mikasa Ackerman, the silent inheritor. Mikasa is one of the quietest characters in Attack on Titan, but her story speaks volumes. She doesn't inherit a Titan or a cause, she inherits a burden. Her clan is near extinct, her childhood is shattered by violence, and from that moment on, she anchors herself to Eren, not just out of love, but also for survival. Her Ackerman bloodline gives her strength, but it's also a cage. As Levi and Kenny both discover, Ackermans are conditioned, perhaps even genetically predisposed to protect. It raises a haunting question. Is Mikasa's loyalty her own, or an inherited instinct? Throughout the series, she rarely chooses for herself. She follows Eren, protects him, kills for him, but in the final moments, when she makes the impossible decision to kill him, she finally acts on her own volition. Not as an Ackerman, not as a soldier, not even as a lover, but as a person. Her arc doesn't reject inheritance, it transcends it. She carries everything Eren gave her, the scarf, the pain, the love, but ultimately chooses not to be defined by it. Mikasa is what it looks like to carry memory without letting it control you. Historia, the heir who refused the throne. Historia is born into royalty, yet raised in shadows. Her entire life is shaped by secrets and shame. First discarded by her noble family, then used as a pawn by the military, she's told again and again what she should be: a weapon, a queen, a symbol of purity. Like many characters in Attack on Titan, Historia is denied agency. But unlike Eren or Zeke, she doesn't respond with grand plans or rebellion. She responds with defiance. Quiet defiance. When Rod Reese urges her to become the vessel for the founding Titan and continue the memory-altering cycle of control, she refuses. She breaks the syringe, she slams her father to the ground, she makes a choice that is both small and monumental. I'll be the one to end it. And later, her role becomes more ambiguous. The choice to bear a child for the sake of the state, potentially coerced, possibly strategic, adds another layer to her arc. Is she complicit now or simply surviving? Sometimes surviving is a kind of rebellion. She doesn't end the cycle, but she does put a crack in it. Together, Mikasa and Historia add emotional and political nuance to the theme of inheritance. They show us that trauma isn't always loud. Sometimes it lingers in silence, sometimes obedience, and sometimes enforced roles. But even within those confines, there are moments of power, choice that ripple outward, challenging the weight of history with something radically simple, a decision of their own. In Attack on Titan, memory is more than remembrance, it's warfare. Most stories treat memory as something personal, the echo of a lost loved one, a lesson learned. But in Isayama's world, memory is systematic. It's deliberately curated, distorted and weaponized by bloodlines, by governments, even by time itself. History is not only told by the victors, it is engineered to control those who come next. The Titans, ironically, are the least monstrous example of this. The real horror lies in how memory becomes ideology. The founding Titan's ability to rewrite memory turns truth into an instrument of subjugation. King Fritz used it to make the Eldians on Paradis forget their past entirely, creating a peaceful illusion within the walls while the world beyond still burned with hatred. He didn't just imprison them physically, he caged their minds too. This is a chilling metaphor of how propaganda functions. What you remember defines what you believe, and what you believe shapes how you act. In this way, history isn't the past, it's the script for the future. Eren, when he inherits this power, initially seems poised to break the cycle, but he ends up using memory just as selectively, orchestrating events and manipulating people into playing out the roles he believes that are necessary. Like the monarchs before him, he controls through knowledge withheld. Titan inheritance. The act of inheriting a Titan is viscerally symbolic. To gain power, you must consume the previous holder. A literal devouring of the past, one that fuses your identity with theirs. You don't just inherit the strength, you inherit the burdens, the trauma, and the choices you never made. This consumption of legacy at its heart shows the horror. The 9 Titans are passed down like dynastic curses, each one carrying the weight of centuries. They are not gifts, they are burdens, and those who inherit them are expected to carry on not just the fight, but also the inherited ideology. Eren inherits Grisha's pain. Armin inherits Bertholdt's dreams. These are not clean slates, they're haunted ones. Even outside of the Titan system, Attack on Titan critiques the way societies weaponize legacy through control of bloodlines. Historia is pressured to bear a child not because she wants to, but because her royal lineage makes her womb politically valuable. Her blood becomes a tool, her body becomes a future. This is the brutal logic of hereditary power structures. The past determines your worth, and your role is to reproduce that past, quite literally. Historia's story is one of quiet horror, showing the lineage and memory intertwine not just in ideology, but also in flesh. Isayama also explores the psychological cost of memory. As the series progresses, those who know too much often fall apart. Reiner breaks down, Zeke's numbness, Eren's radicalization. These are not accidents, they're a side effect of seeing the truth too clearly. In this world, ignorance is like protection. Armin's childlike dream of the sea is only beautiful before he learns what lies beyond it. Once he knows, it's poisoned. And Eren's descent begins the moment he inherits Grisha's memories. It deepens when he realizes that he has always been a part of them. He loses his freedom through knowledge. When memory becomes a weapon, is forgetting the only escape. The final irony of Attack on Titan is that the only way to break the cycle might be to erase it. Eren's genocide is not just an act of war, it's an attempt to burn memory out of the world. His end goal is a world where no one remembers Titans, no one remembers the hatred. But even in the final moments, in the final pages, we see his dream crumble. The tree reappears, the cycle hints at returning, because memory is never truly gone. It sleeps, and then it wakes. Can the cycle actually be broken? Attack on Titan is a series defined by repetition, of war, of ideology, of grief, and of sacrifice. Each generation inherits the sins of the last, forced to reckon with crimes they didn't commit and ideals they didn't choose. But as the final chapters approach, a pressing question rises like smoke over a battlefield. Is it possible to break the cycle? Or is it already too late? For Eren, the answer is terrifyingly simple. If no one's left to carry the hate, the cycle ends. His plan, the Rumbling, is a catastrophic final solution. He isn't just trying to protect Paradis, he's trying to erase history itself by removing those who remember it. If you want to be free, he seems to reason, then everything that binds you to the past must die with it. But this is not freedom, it's erasure. It's a false peace built on silence and ash. In the end, Eren isn't breaking the cycle, he's continuing it at maximum volume. His genocide is not a clean slate, it's another chapter in the same history written in blood. His decision exposes the flaw in inherited trauma. If pain is all you've ever known, you might come to believe that pain is the only way to be heard. In contrast, Attack on Titan offers smaller, quieter answers, none more powerful than Gabi and Falco. These two children, raised in the heart of Malian indoctrination, begin as mirrors of their enemies. Gabi is brash, zealous, and convinced of her superiority. Falco is gentler but just as loyal to the system. And yet, through their exposure to the people of Paradis, especially through Sasha's grieving family, they begin to see the humanity in the devils. This shift is seismic, not because it's loud, but because it's new to them. Gabi's apology, her horror, her slow unlearning of indoctrination. This is what it looks like when the next generation refuses to carry the ancestors' hate. Falco's empathy, his gentleness even in war, shows that love and understanding are not naive, but they can be acts of resistance within themselves. These two don't break the system through force, they loosen its grip with their compassion. Mikasa's final decision is perhaps the most emotionally devastating moment in the series. After years of devotion, after enduring betrayal, distance, and silence, she is the one who ends Eren's life. Not out of any kind of hatred, but out of love. She doesn't kill him to save the world, she kills him because he asked her to, because she knows it must be done. It's a complicated act, it is both mercy and murder, both goodbye and release, but it's also a turning point. In choosing to act with clarity, not with ideology, in refusing to follow inherited duty or genetic loyalty, Mikasa does what generations before her could not. She actually ends the story. And not with vengeance, but with love. And yet, even after Eren's death, the series refuses to grant us certainty. In the final moments, in the final pages, a new tree appears, strikingly similar to the one where Ymir's powers first began. A young boy, nameless, curious, enters its shadow. It's ambiguous, it's ominous, it's kind of beautiful. Does this mean the cycle is beginning again? Or is it merely the memory of what was? Perhaps Attack on Titan doesn't give us definitive answers because there isn't one. Breaking the cycle isn't an ending, it's a constant choice, made again and again, by individuals in the small moments. And with all that said, perhaps the cycle breaks when someone decides not to kill, when they choose not to believe everything they were told, when they choose empathy over indoctrination, responsibility over revenge. But this choice isn't permanent. It must be made repeatedly across generations, and maybe that's the point. Attack on Titan isn't about saving the world, it's about a world fought for, not through the might of the Titans, but through the meaning of the people, through memory, through mercy. Final thoughts. We don't choose what we inherit. Not our history, not our blood, not the pain etched into our culture, our family, or even our name. In Attack on Titan, every character begins life in a prison built by those who came before them, walled in by fear, duty, ideology, or fate. The show asks, what happens when a generation is given nothing but trauma and asked to build a future from its ruins? Some fight, some follow, and some become monsters. But in the final reckoning, what Attack on Titan seems to suggest is that cycles don't all break at once. Not with a battle, not even with a death. They break in moments, in choices to see someone, to truly see them as more than what the past says they should be. Eren's path is the loudest, but it's not the most important. The real hope of the series lies in Gabby's remorse, in Armin's mercy, and in Mikasa's farewell kiss. It lies in the idea that healing is not forgetting, it's just remembering things differently. Carrying the past not as a curse, but as a lesson. Because the truth is, we're all inheritors of stories, of wounds, of worlds made before us, but we're also authors of new ones. And maybe that's Attack on Titan's final message. You may not choose what you're given, but you can choose what you give. And that's it for this analysis. If you liked my take on Attack on Titan, a like and subscribe would genuinely mean a lot, especially because this channel is brand new. And it will definitely be worth it, because I'll be sharing many more story and philosophical breakdowns in the weeks, months, and years to come. Hope to see you at the next one.